Hi guys, today we're talking RAW versus JPEG. Now a lot of people say, oh no, they can't shoot in RAW because it takes too much memory space and blah blah blah, but do you really understand the difference? There's very good reasons why you want to shoot in RAW. Sure, you can argue JPEG as well, and we'll do that in a little while. Before I get going and show you some Lightroom, I want to call it stuff, but one or two Lightroom exercises where we can see the difference when you process a RAW versus the same file as a JPEG. I had a quick walk around the Wild Eye office and I asked Jono, Andrew and Penny what their thoughts on RAW or what they think about RAW and whether they shoot it. Check us out. Right guys, today we're talking RAW versus JPEG. So before we get to some Lightroom tutorials and to have a look at what the difference in processing is, quick walk around the Wild Eye office and see what the guys and girl think about RAW. Andrew first up. Andrew, RAW versus JPEG, what do you use?
Yeah, I shoot only in RAW, but that's because I like to take control over the creative process when it comes to editing those images. So JPEG, basically it just compresses everything and the camera then decides things like white balance, contrast, sharpening. So if you're shooting thousands of images and you don't really have the time to sit down and take over that creative control in post-processing, then JPEG might be the way to go for you. But for most people who really like to take over the control of their images, they're going to be shooting RAW.
Did you always shoot RAW?
Yes.
From the beginning?
No, I lie. Right in the beginning I was shooting JPEG, and once I found out about RAW and the benefits of it, I kind of kicked myself a little bit because there were a couple of images that I wish I had had in RAW rather than JPEG. But yeah, that was many years back.
Nice. Cool, thank you. Jumping over, Penny. Penny's very busy, quickly jump in. You studied photography last year. What did they tell you guys with regards to RAW versus JPEG?
Well, RAW is obviously more ideal because you've got more information. So when you do edit your pictures and stuff, with RAW, it doesn't disintegrate your images, while JPEG, every time you save and you re-edit and go back to it, your picture's quality lessens and everything.
Mm-hmm. And you shoot RAW, I'm assuming, yeah?
Yes, but I never used to until I learned.
What was the main deciding factor? What did someone say that made you click?
What to use RAW?
Yeah.
That the fact that JPEG, you've got that much information, RAW you can do this. Well, you've got that much information, so it's just the quality of your images are better.
So it's a must.
Yes.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jono. RAW, JPEG. What do you shoot?
I shoot in RAW, and I'm not sure why you're asking me this question because you told me to shoot in RAW.
There it is.
No, just kidding. My brief and basic understanding of it. There's a lot more information that can be captured in your image in the file, that a RAW file. So it just enhances post-processing, gives you more detail in post-processing, allows you to change whether it be white balances, shadows, exposures, whatever. So it gives me a better finish when I've processed my image.
Good stuff. And tell me, Ida, your wife, also shoots with a Canon. Does she shoot RAW?
She does indeed, yes.
Does she know she's shooting in RAW?
I think so, and again, what you told her to.
Okay. Oh dear, cool. So yeah.
No, she's also. We've obviously had to buy a lot more camera cards in the family, but that's cool.
Nice.
She is shooting in RAW now and totally enjoying it. So
good stuff. So it's all in the family.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. So we're going to have a look at Lightroom now. I'm going to end this little piece with the artistic fade out of the Wild Eye logo, and then we're going to Lightroom. Right. So there you go. You see, all of the guys and Penny shoot in RAW. It just makes sense. It's the unprocessed version. Think of this. If you get, for example, you have a steak that you're going to prepare. You can prepare it like you want to. That's you doing raw processing. Or you can just get it from the butcher and hope he didn't mess it up. You can put all his own spices on there. Not ideal. You want to have your choice. Bad analogy? I don't know. Use it, don't use it. But what is a RAW file? A RAW file is all the information that is captured at the moment when you click the shutter. It records all the data at that moment. Exposure and. It's not really a picture file, it's a data file, which you need certain software to read into view, for example, Lightroom. Now, the reality is this, almost every single camera does shoot in RAW, even your little point and shoot. The difference is most of them apply the changes in camera and spits out a JPEG on the other side. And that's butchering. Okay, I'm going to get back to that thing, but that's where the butchering of the RAW file happens. Yes, you can get good examples, but a lot of the times you have more control, not a lot of the times, all of the time, when you process your RAW files on your own. Now the biggest difference, and this is important when we check it out now, if you imagine pure black to pure white on a straight line, a JPEG only has 256 levels or steps from white, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way, 256 to black. Sounds like a lot? RAW files have anything between 4,000 and about 65,000 steps from black to white. That means there's so much more processing, and it gives you smoother transition between colors. Yes, you want smoother, that's great. So JPEG spits out small amount of levels, 256. A RAW file, anything between 4,000 and 65,000 levels between black and white, same range. So it just goes to show that if you're going to try and lift details from your dark areas, which you're going to do now, or you're going to play with exposure, fill out and things like that, there's more to do with a RAW file, so much more options. So I want to jump you into Lightroom. Right, what we have on screen here is one image. Now, don't come with your, but it's in camera and this, I'm not interested in that. What we're looking at here is simply a JPEG file versus a RAW file, exactly the same image, and let's play around with some of the variables in Lightroom and see what happens. So, we've got these two images here. I'm going to open up my bottom panel just for you to see, so they're always down here. Let's just have a look and take them both into develop. Right, so for you to keep track of what I'm doing, bottom left of the screen, you've got the image that's highlighted, yeah, and you can see at the top left, which is, so NEF is my original Nikon RAW file, and at the other one it'll give me a JPEG version. Okay, so you can see now they look the same, but just for those skeptics out there, let's do this. I'm going to go over into my presets and I'm going to hit 0. That will take every single adjustment that's been made on the right hand side. Basic tone curve, HSL, split toning, detail, lens correction effects, and camera. It takes everything back to 0. No adjustments. So let's hit 0. There we go on the NEF file. Jump to JPEG and do the same. Right. So now I have two images that are the same. They look the same, but are they the same? Remember now, we have on my JPEG file, which you're looking at now, there's 256 levels from black to white. And if I look at my NEF file, anything between 4 and 65,000. So we should get more information out of this, this RAW file. So first exercise, I'm going to start this on the JPEG, just for shits and giggles. Right, looking at this image, the only thing, just for you again, have a look through these panels with me. They're all down 0 in the middle. Yeah, let me click on the other file, also 0. What is the difference? Yes, white balance. Why? If you're shooting a RAW file and you click it as shot here, you've got all the different options on the side, so you can go and change it after the fact. I can go and change this according to shade, tungsten, cloudy, and I've got all of that. In a JPEG, watch what happens when I go to my JPEG file and I go to a shot. I've only got auto and custom. I don't have all those things to play with anymore, so it's on 0. I'm not going to worry about white balance today, not the point. What I'm after, and oh, just for you to be happy, both look the same. So I'm starting on my JPEG and I'm going to take the shadow slider. Remember, I'm not talking blacks here. This is the area just above blacks, the dark tones and stuff of this image. Let's take this all the way up to 100%. All right, so let's lift the image up. Look at it before and after. Yeah, not bad. Now, let's go over to the RAW file and do the exact same thing. Boom. Okay, looking at that, again, it looks very similar. Watch what happens when we put them together. Can you see from there? Yeah. The one on the left is my RAW file. It's lighter and brighter. The one on the right-hand side is my JPEG, a little bit darker. I'm going to take it back to develop. So that is the only adjustments we've made, remember, is shadows up to 100. So now let's go to our JPEG file. See the difference? Yeah. There's so much more detail and lightness, brightness coming through on the RAW file. And that's just one adjustment. Imagine now if we start playing with exposure, contrast, and all these other things as well. We'll try that in a little bit. So let's 0 that one on my JPEG. Let's 0 this one on my RAW file. Now another one, and this is, remember, we're not processing this to look beautiful. We're just checking what RAW file can do for you versus a JPEG file. I'm going to go to detail, and we're going to specifically look not at sharpening, but at noise reduction. So let's zoom in on these things so they're the same. I'm going to go into the eye there. Let's just see, okay, they're more or less the same. Right, so let's start again, start on my JPEG. Now again, remember, I'm not beautifying this image, I'm making a point. So, luminance, let's lift luminance up. Remember, that is my monochromatic noise, which gives us all this blurry stuff, the grain. So, let's lift that up, we're looking at it visually. All right, there's a bit of color noise left, let's lift that up. Okay, so, right, so that's pretty smooth, yeah? Remember, we will get a bit of degrading of the sharpness on the subject. I'm just after the bigger picture. So, let's have a look. Luminance, I've taken to 31, and color, I've taken to 26. Let's do the exact same thing. Luminance, what did I say, 31, yeah? specific, and color to, was it 26? Oh goodness, 27. Let's just do this right, otherwise we're going to moan about it later. Right, so I've got 31, 50, 0, 26, 50 on my noise. Let's check here, 31, 50, 0, 26. Okay, so theoretically, I've done exactly the same thing. Not theoretically, practically, I've done the same thing on my JPEG and my RAW file. If you have a look, I'll zoom in for you now. Look at the quality on the JPEG versus quality on the RAW. There's more detail in my subject. Same amount of noise reduction, there's more detail in the RAW file. Again, have a look. Let me take it in closer here. Let's go to 3:1. Yeah, on both of those. Let's put this away. Okay, so again, this here you can see the background is soft, but my cheetah is also soft. If I look at the RAW version, there's more detail there. I hope you can see that. Look at how it pops around below the eye here. Yeah? So, same adjustment again, as with my shadows earlier on, but the RAW looks better. Always will. Alright, let me zoom back out on that. Okay, you're not going to see much of the noise from there because it's too big. And let's zero these things again. Okay, so now let's go and take all of that together. So I'm now going to take this RAW file and let's process it, do a normal process on it. This time we're trying to make it look a little bit better. I'm just going very quickly. Remember, a lot of this is visual, so I'm trying to make this cat look a bit better. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the small detail sharpening and that now. I'm just looking at it overall. So before and after, remember this is now my RAW file. Left is original, right hand side I've processed. Very quick, but again, that looks a whole lot better. Yeah. Now what we're going to do, hit, if you're on a Mac, Command C, if you're on a PC, Control C, and you get this screen. You can then check all, which means all of the adjustments that are now ticked. Literally everything. I'm just going to take crop off, okay, because we didn't crop anything. All of the adjustments I've now done on my RAW file, I'm copying if I hit this button. Lightroom now keeps that in its memory, and I can go and paste those exact same adjustments, and we'll check this now, so all the sliders are the same, onto my JPEG file. So, I hit my JPEG file, and then I can go Command V, or Control V if you're still on a PC, sorry. Okay, so now we've pasted this. There's my before and after for the JPEG. Here it looks fine, yeah? There's a definite improvement, there's a bit of color in, it's lighter and brighter, but let's compare it to each other. That is my RAW file. You can see there's more clarity there. I don't even touch clarity, I'm talking clarity like brightness. Against that, it's duller and darker. Same adjustment, more power. Which means, if I have to push my processing for whatever reason, I'm underexposed by chance or whatever, I can do so much more with my RAW file. The ability is there, because remember, all the raw information has been captured, and also that level of brightness in my JPEG file, the one you're looking at now, there's, what would I say, 256 levels from black to white. RAW files between 4,000 and 65,000 steps that I can play with. It just makes sense. So, there you go, that's a quick look at RAW versus JPEG, and I didn't even scratch the surface here, we're just touching a bit on this. This is something that comes up in every single digital photography course and Lightroom course that we run, and we pay a bit of attention to this. This is the shortest version, guys. I mean, it's the same image, you're doing the exact same processing, and the results speak for themselves. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them on the blog below this post, and we'll help where we can. In future, we'll do this again, but we'll dig a little bit more. We'll look for underexposed images, see how they compare against the JPEG version. Before we wrap up, there is probably an argument to be made for JPEG. If you're going to shoot straight for web, you want to show someone your new, I don't know, your new house, car, dog, or bathroom. Yeah, shoot in JPEG because you're not going to process those things. If you're shooting a hell of a lot of things for personal use, you're not going to process them, keep it. If you're shooting pictures of Aunt Susie's bridge club, you're not going to process those things. So then you shoot in JPEG. There's no point, you're not going to process them. If you're going on a photo safari or you're going to shoot specifically for something and you know you want the very best out of your images, shoot in RAW. The excuse of I haven't got enough memory or my memory runs out is rubbish, because those things are getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. Buy more memory cards, simple as that. That's it. I think, JPEG, easy. You heard earlier on, none of the Wild Eye guys here, and I know for a fact, none of the ambassadors, Mark, Marlon, Morkel, or and Badger, none of them shoot in JPEG for the exact reasons we've been saying here now. So if you have questions, give us a shout. Happy shooting in RAW. My name is Jerry. This is Photo Chat for Wild Eye. I'll see you next time.